Is that all you? Did you hear that massive welcome?
Is that it?
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, so we made a list of people go, wow, we want to really unpack some really cool stories. Yours was one of them, so I've been saving it for this message, Art. Just really trying to work this.
Yeah.
No pressure, but don't screw up the service today is what I'm trying to say.
I didn't want to come up. I was enjoying the service.
That's right. I see you have your Raiders shirt on,
do.
so that's a good thing.
Proud, yeah.
They didn't lose.
We're not going to lose this week.
That's right. You're
That's
not
right.
going to. Good
Yeah,
thing.
we're not going to win either because we're not playing.
All right, there you go.
That's right.
So talk to me about your background. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
Born in Chile.
Okay.
Left there when I was 6 years old. We were forced to leave the country. My mom was an American, a nun before she married my dad. And the army took over the country, and they didn't want the Americans in, and they threatened us. And they said, you leave the country, or else we're going to chop up your family into little pieces, throw them in the river. So we got out. 2 weeks later, we were out of the country.
So boom, now you're here. Don't know anyone. Wow.
Well, we had some family, but yeah, we were pretty much.
So you're put in school. You're having to develop new relationships. Did you speak English?
A little bit.
Okay.
I knew Tip, you are not a good dog. That's about it. That was it, really. Yeah,
okay, so then obviously if your mom had been a nun, and I assume that she got out of
she kicked the habit,
her commitment, she kicked the
habit.
habit. Y'all get that?
It's a Catholic joke, sorry.
Slow group of people. They've been in the South too long. They
explain
think
everything
slowly.
to you guys, man.
All right,
We're never going to get through this if we have to explain everything.
Right. So married your dad, and so obviously you had a religious background, but at what point in your life, talk a little bit about how Jesus became real to you and spiritual things became real.
All right, so I was raised a Catholic because my mom was a nun, and I went to Catholic school up through high school.
Okay.
I was an altar boy all those years up until I was so big I couldn't fit in the altar boy's clothes anymore. I was wearing the priest's garment.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so I guess I believed in it somewhat, but as I got older, I started questioning a lot of it. And then I started drifting away in high school, not necessarily because I didn't believe, but just, I was pursuing other things. At that time, I was into girls and, partying and music and just having fun.
All right, so the music, just because I said you're a worship leader, you're a bass player, that kind of thing, when did music become an important part of your life as far as a musician
Well,
goes?
I started when I was in 4th grade. Playing music. It became important probably in high school.
Okay.
Late high school.
And then you went off to college, right?
Yes.
Okay, and some interesting things happened there in college, spiritually speaking.
Yeah, all along, even earlier than college, I'd always been dabbling with occult kind of stuff, let's say. It started like many probably of you guys in this room, maybe we're in this now, but I started simply with, horror movies, horror novels, haunted houses, fascination with that kind of stuff, magic. You enjoy magic, and magic is fine by itself, but there's a dark side to that. And so that was always a running thread through my life. But when I got into college, I kind of got a little deeper into some of that stuff. Started doing tarot card readings for people, communicating with spirits with Ouija boards. Ouija boards are not toys, everyone. Even if they sell them pink, they're not toys.
Okay, good thing to say.
Don't buy them, stay far away from them. Ghost kind of stuff. I just started getting it much more deep into that, casting spells. I'm almost ashamed to say this. I prayed to Satan at times.
Okay.
Because there were certain things in life
I wanted.
You were
a bass player.
I was a bass player.
Those two were probably tied in.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not very smart. Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
so
it started getting dark there, yeah.
But the recognition of there is a spiritual reality out there of light and dark. You're very aware of that.
This is actually what pushed me back to God. When I started communicating with these spirits through the Ouija board and doing the tarot card readings, it quickly went from, at first it was cool. You're tapping into something different that's real, and you're like, wow. But then it's like everything of the enemy. At first he entices you with the candy, and the hook comes later. Yep. And so I was in there long enough to all of a sudden this was not fun anymore. It was very dark, very oppressive. If you've ever been in this world, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's kind of hard to explain, but you actually feel the life being drawn out of you. You could feel the darkness around you all the time. It was scary. It scared me back towards God, partially. Okay. Partially was that the fear, and partially was the awareness of, okay, this spirit thing is real. So God, I've always known you're real. But this really cements the deal now. This is, angels and God and, okay.
All right, so talk about how did you then make that leap from the dark to the light?
So it started with that. It started with that kind of stuff when I got afraid, when the spirit started, through the Ouija board, it started making threatening kind of remarks and things. And, I started feeling horrible day after day after day as I was partaking in this stuff. Not my conscience, but literally just this darkness. So I started talking to God. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know if Jesus was the way. I didn't know if Catholicism that I'd learned was the way. I just believed in God. And so I said, God, whoever you are, I'm sorry. I've ignored you. I've walked away from you. I've been messing with stuff that I knew was not good. And so please show me who you are. Show me who you are. Show me if any of the religions out here are of you. Show me what those are, and I'll go that way. And every single day, that became my obsession, my life obsession for at least a year. Every single day. I was in music school at the time. I'd stop and I was
So how old were you? Early 20s?
Yeah, I went back. I'm horrible with timelines like that.
But, you're
I was in my 20s, early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'd go into an empty classroom. I'd spend a half hour to an hour every single day praying this prayer. Meaning it with all my heart. God, I need to know who you are. There's no more important question in this universe than who you are, why you created me, what you want from me. Show me, and I will do it. I'll walk the path, whatever the cost. If people leave me, if I have no friends, if people think I'm a religious nut, I don't care. I've seen that this deal is real. I can't ignore it. I have to know. And it took about a year on that journey. God was dropping a lot of hints along the way. I was very slow because, again, I'm a bass player.
Yeah, there you go. I got it. And you're a Raiders fan.
We're hopeless. And because the last thing I was open to considering was, I'd come out of Catholicism, and I thought that was Christianity. I didn't know there's anything else to it.
Right.
And I'm not trying to bash Catholicism.
I understand.
That's not where I'm coming from. But I had seen that, and I'd kind of dismissed that, and so I checked out a whole bunch of other stuff before that. But all along the way, God was dropping Jesus kind of hints during that year of praying. A bunch of little ways that probably wouldn't mean anything to you, but since I was seeking, they were significant to me, and it started building up. The weight of evidence day after day after day, you just couldn't ignore it. So things on the radio, things on billboards, little tracts left everywhere.
Right.
Strangers coming up to me in ice cream shops saying, God told me to give this to you, and just time after time after time. So you just, okay, God, I think you're trying to point me to this Jesus thing, and so.
So at the end of the year, what was the pivotal thing?
So I started reading my Bible. I had an old paperback Bible like this that they give you in high school.
Yep.
Go through, and the Good News Bible. And I started reading the teachings of Jesus. Don't remember if it was the first day, second day, third day. I had an undeniable experience with God. And so I was reading, and as I'm reading, all of a sudden, my eyes are tearing. And it's not a mental thing. It's not like, I'm reading and boy, that's beautiful. Nothing mental is going on. It's just my body responding. And so I'm looking at myself saying, what the heck is going on? And then I become aware of, again, this is going to seem so weird, but I know from speaking to some of you guys that you have the same experience. So those of you that have been down this road, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But there was a great warmth, a great burning warmth within me. The room was just very light, not a physical lightness, just the exact opposite of all the darkness that I've been messing around with. Mm-hmm. That was tangible in the room, and my body just responded by crying. And when I think about it, I still cry 30 years later.
So it's kind of cool to me as I'm hearing this, Art. One of the things that is so awesome about God is you were already growing in you had connected.
Am I supposed to drink the water?
Whatever.
I prefer the
you
coffee.
Can drink. When you tell unpacking this, you can drink whatever you want to drink. Woo!
You do CPR?
But look, the real thing is God spoke to you in a way you understood.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you're revealing here.
Yes.
Okay.
And God was faithful. God was faithful. He promises in his, I didn't know this verse at the time. God promised, if you diligently seek me, you will find me. I didn't know that, but he did.
And then that led you to an involvement in a church, right?
Yes, almost immediately I got into a church. I went back to the Catholic Church for a little while, and then I went to another church where I remained for 17 years until I came here. Because we moved.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pause this right now. We're going to stop this part of the interview. This is interview part 1, and we're going to bring Art back up in a later service to talk about what happened.
Okay.
from that point on. But here's what I want you to hear very clearly. Do you see the level of commitment that's going on inside of this man? Do you see how God responded to this? Pointing out just a couple other things. You talk about all this stuff that happened in a year. And already I can hear little things like people were responding. They don't even know you, and they're doing little steps of faith.
Absolutely.
Giving you a daring step. Give this tract, God, to somebody I don't even know. They'll leave something somewhere, and God was using all of that.
Yep.
And they have no idea that led to your life change.
No, strangers.
Okay,
Yep.
Awesome. So thank Art for being up here today. And Art, you're going to be back up here before the end of the year. So, look, daring steps of faith are, you just see this thing and see how commitment is involved in this thing. Commitment of life change. Now, what's fascinating when I knew I was asking Art and he was going to go into this background, which I knew about, there may be someone who came in here for the first time and you connect so much with that journey right there. You may have been coming here for years and go, I needed someone to talk to me about the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms because I've been dabbling around with them. Look, I want to tell you folks, this stuff's real. God is very real. The enemy's very real. The Bible says this, greater is he that's in us as a Christian than he that is in the world. And so the whole reality of that is as we express ourselves in commitments to God's ways, he will express himself back to us. And he says, if, like Art pointed out, if you seek him with all your heart, you'll find him. So I want you to look down at your outline.